Hi, and welcome back to PlanFirst Live. I'm Sian Larkin. I'm the Manager of Design Services at PlanFirst Design. And with me today is Kim Reiche. But Kim, I'm going to hand over to you.
Excellent. Thanks very much for inviting me, Sian. It's been a while since I've had to chat about lighting, but it is a passion of mine, without a doubt. The magic of lighting. Why is it so important? And, this is a question that is often overlooked when you're designing a renovation or a new home, or even just upgrading your interior. Like everything, technology has advanced hugely, and the fittings are getting smaller, the luminaires are getting smaller, but the quality of lighting is improving all the time. Whether the home is a high-end home or whether it's a stock standard Kiwi house, it is definitely worth getting someone involved in the lighting. Understanding how you can improve the space, how you can improve the size of the space, how you can maybe have some different zones. So basically we look at these different lighting options in any building, or whether it be a commercial or a residential. We're going to look at task lighting, ambient lighting, decorative lighting, and accent lighting. That's basically how we would divide it up. Accent lighting, I'll just start off there, and I'll come back to it towards the end of the presentation, but that can often be something that's architectural, something that's exterior, something that's maybe in a big entrance hall of a foyer or something like that. Whereas the task lighting is exactly what we say, task. Ambient is our general lighting, and then the decorative, which I'm very passionate about. So we'll just talk a little bit about task lighting. This allows us to focus on activities, areas that would need maybe a kitchen, where we're wanting to have clear benchtop space and maybe a good color rendering. And I go into so many homes and see straight away at the kitchen sink, it's a dark space because the lighting is behind and you really can't see what you're doing at the kitchen sink. So we really want to try and eliminate all of those dark spaces. The lumen output is really important. The color rendering, the CRI, is very important. I'll talk a little bit about color rendering later on and explain exactly what that is. Okay, yeah. So this is just an example. This is out of Bright Green. This is a little Australian company. But this is just a cross-section of their little hidden wash recessed light. But when you see it in actual use, here it could be considered an accent light, but it's also a task light. So it's a real moody room, and they're just taking the light off everything, but it's in the important areas on top of those stairs. Also noting that it's a timber floor, so we want to make sure we've got a really good color rendering to pick up that timber. Same luminaire in a kitchen environment. So it's right ahead of you. It's going to be throwing light on the back wall, which is also those browns, quite a difficult color tone to make sure we get the right color rendering, but it's giving you a good task light. Same luminaire again in a worktop environment. Next up, we've got ambient light. Here is a gym now, so it's giving us quite a good consistent lumen output with very few lights and very low glare, which is really what you want to have in an ambient light. But if you have a look at the floor, you've got quite a consistent ambient light there. So it's giving us the effect of a really good, in a tight space with lots of doors, lots of things going on, but it's hiding everything else, making the pictures on the wall the feature, but giving you a good visual of the light. This is a dressing room. So in a dressing room, really important to have good lighting. You know, when you open those cupboard doors, you want to see, is that a red, green, blue dress, or what am I wearing today? You may also have a mirror in there where you're going to be able to see yourself in a full light, and you don't want to have extra wrinkles or baggy eyes or anything like that. This is the same fitting, and this could be considered an accent lighting. But I wanted to show you here how that wall washer lights up the feature of the shuttered concrete behind the fireplace, but doesn't spill any light anywhere else. That all comes down to the quality of the luminaire, absolutely, without a doubt. Then we've got decorative lighting. So I do have my own take on this decorative lighting scenario. I love decorative lighting. I think it should be a piece of art. It should be something that is really going to catch your eye. It does need to have a bit of a task to it, or it needs to be supported by other ambient lights to give it the effect. So, this is something that's just recently been released, and look how beautiful that is, and how much of a feature it's making inside this little apartment. This is an interesting fitting that I just wanted to, from an interest point of view, this is actually made out of cardboard. Here you can see this is a very lightweight, possibly not giving off a lot of lumens at all, but supported beautifully with very good ambient light, which is picking up the texture of the wallpaper behind. This is one of my favorites, and this is a floss fitting as well. And in fact, it's been around for maybe, 15 or 20 years now. But this is a beautiful fitting because it's very contemporary as you approach it. But then when you're sitting at the table, it's got a story, and it's quite a contrast to the contemporary form of the fittings. Okay, accent lighting. So accent lighting really is something that's going to accent the architecture or the building. It could be cove lighting. It could be, in this case, I've put some bollards out here because it's helping this exterior landscape come to life at night. This is also architectural, but I just wanted to explain. But interestingly, you can't see one luminaire on that facade. So they are projecting really good quality light. There's no shadowing, but you can still see the depth of the arches and the textures. And by lighting that, the actual top roof at the back, it's sort of really giving you an idea of how big the building is and the scale of the building. And that's what you can do when you're playing with this light, is you can really throw back areas and bring areas forward and elevate the elevations and the volumes of buildings. But this is really coming down to the quality of the light, which is giving us those real fine lines. So a few tips. So warm white, neutral white or cool white. I like the warmer tones for interiors, and I like the cooler tones for the exteriors. The color rendering, the CRI, is paramount now. It's in our lighting in interiors, you should not be accepting anything under the 90. If you can get to 95s, that's even better. Definitely for beautiful artwork, expensive artwork, you want to be increasing that CRI to as high an index as you can. 100 is basically good daylight. Living room, a mix of ambient, task, and accent is quite helpful.
If you've got an open plan lounge, dining, kitchen, like most people do, how do you have all these different types of lighting without them clashing? So,
first of all, you want the same color temperature. You can have them all set on different dimmers. The investment is definitely in the luminaire, but you will see the benefits. Kitchen, you do need to have strong task lighting, but you also want to have ambient lighting because you spend so much time in the kitchen. You do need to have that flow right. I definitely recommend on the ambient light have some controlling so you can lift it up. Bedrooms, quite an interesting thing I see on plans that come across my desk is architects always want to put a light above the bed as a reading light. And I always say to them, have you thought of lying down on that bed and looking at that and having that glare? You must remember that when you come into a bedroom, nowadays it's really highly recommended that this becomes a quiet zone and a chill out zone to try and get those sleep mode coming through. So really consider how you're going to light that, not overly bright at all. Bathrooms, now we all hate that in hotels. You would definitely find that when you go to put your makeup on the mirror and all of a sudden you've got these extra wrinkles that you didn't have an hour earlier. And that really comes from lighting being in the wrong place. It's shadowing your face and it's enhancing that wrong look. Of course, bathrooms, IP rating. So the IP rating is the moisture and dust. So the two numbers that you see there, IP44, the 4 would be the dust, and the first 4, the second 4 would be the moisture. So you want to always make sure that you've got really high readings on the the dust and the moisture. Exterior would be an IP65, so you're going to have a lot of dust on the exterior. Mix of color temperatures is a no-no. Please avoid this. Ask for samples, put it against those finishes and decide where you're going, but I would definitely go for warm colors for your home. Are there any questions? I think we've got a whole list there.
How can lighting make a small space feel larger?
Good question. So, a small space is always going to be a small space. I mean, you're an architect, you understand that. And playing with different textures and feels is definitely going to help. But with the lighting, you can actually throw a wall back, or you can bring a wall forward, or you can actually have some up lighting to create more of a volume.
And what are the biggest mistakes that you've seen with lighting?
Too many, I used to call it the shotgun approach, on the ceiling, just too many downlight.
And how early on do you suggest somebody gets lighting advice?
Early. So I recommend connecting with the architect or the interior designer and talking about the lighting and the possibilities and what you're wanting to achieve and how you live in your current home to what you want to be doing in your new home. You cannot do this early enough, because what it's going to do, it's going to have a knock-on effect on control systems. And are you using solar, or are you wanting sensors or things like that,
Thanks so much for coming in. I always love it when you join me, because you've got so much experience and so much knowledge. So thanks a million for that. And just quickly to introduce next week's topic, we're going to be talking about landscaping ideas for small backyards.
Hey, I've got a really good lighting checklist, which I'm more than happy to share with you. So if anybody would like that checklist, just drop Sean a message or contact her, and we'd be more than happy to share that checklist with you.
Thanks again for watching, and we'll be back next week with our next topic.